Hello and welcome to the first shoot of the D3 Diaries at Claire's School of Photography. This was a shoot that I did at a local pub, really last minute, of a band which I've been following for years now. And this was in the pub where they very first started. Well, not when they first started, but where I very first saw them years ago. So it was really nice to see them back in the little pub in town, because their gigs are now usually in bigger venues like theatres and stuff. So this is all Floyd, and some pictures captured on the Nikon D3. I really enjoyed capturing these kind of almost behind the scenes images that sort of told the rest of the story, you know. I was trying to find a way to capture this experience, but from a slightly different viewpoint, a slightly different angle, and just, as I say, tell a bit of the story and get some interesting, quite sort of abstract shots. And I left the grain in this one. I really love the grain and the noise and just that oldie worldy kind of feel to it. And I think one of the things that I really want to say when I'm showing you these images is look at how many are quite similar to each other, and doesn't that kind of take the emphasis off each image? I found myself, I suppose, a little bit bored when I was editing, because there were so many shots that were so similar. And I think when digital photography came along, that's what it kind of encouraged, was taking loads and loads of shots because you can delete them. And that's what people used to say, isn't it? Oh, don't worry, you can always delete them, just take loads. You know, which is really good in some ways, but in other ways, you don't cherish each shot as much. And I think, for me certainly, I probably don't take as much time on each shot. And I take loads, and then I have loads to look through. And then also, if you show lots all looking very similar, I think the viewer can get a little bit bored as well, and it can just, when you've got one of something, it just feels more precious, doesn't it? So I think that's something to really bear in mind for myself for the future. Edit them down more. Well, take less to start with, edit them down more, and pick one out of all the ones that are similar that says it all, you know, and leave it at that. So as you can see, the lights were really blue in this situation, which is why I've made a lot of the images black and white. You get that kind of strange, almost like a posterized look with the blue light. I just want to also say my camera went in for calibration shortly after this shoot as well. You might notice in some of them the focusing is slightly off. So that was due to just the calibration had been a while since it had been done. So I was recently speaking as well about sort of being bored of my own work, being bored of my own photography, and wanting to just create something a little bit different. And I think that this really leads me back to my point about being careful not to niche down in photography, because you can feel really excited about capturing a certain subject, and I think very often once you've done that a few times, it can start to feel samey, and then you might just want to explore something else. I was just thinking today how I think I'd rather shoot everything once than repeat. I think it's really great to get good at one subject and if that's where your work takes you and that's what is available to you, then that's great. But I was just really feeling into how, I'd love to photograph the world and really, really add more variety into my work in various ways, and that's in the shoots that I choose to do and what the subject matter that I choose to capture, but also within each shoot how I'm capturing it. And that's why I was really trying to get into some very interesting positions in this shoot. So I was trying to create some foreground for myself, this kind of feeling of looking through, having a nice shallow depth of field to create that depth to the image. And also just playing with high viewpoints, low viewpoints, as you can see here, getting the audience in the foreground as well. And at one point I actually climbed right under the table. This was quite amusing actually. I spotted a great shot. I was trying to get down on the floor with my D3, which is always a little bit awkward because obviously you've got to get your eye to the viewfinder. As you mirrorless camera photographers will know, that's not an issue because you've got that lovely flip screen. But if you can imagine me crawling about on the floor trying to get down low, and trying to look through the viewfinder, at times I just had to kind of guess and just let nature take its course. But I spotted a great viewpoint from underneath a chair, which meant me climbing under this table. So there's a table with, I don't know, like maybe 8 or 9 gentlemen sat around it. And I thought, right, it's now or never. Like the Mel Robbins rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just count yourself down and then do it. Don't think about it, just do it. Because if you overthink it, you'll talk yourself right out of it. So I just kind of pointed under the table to these gentlemen, and 2 of them kind of moved slightly back to let me under there. But it was quite amusing. They found it very, very amusing. So I just got right underneath and shot, as you can see, through the chair legs, just to kind of try and tell the story from a different angle, really. And then did the opposite here and got up really, really high. So I always find the D3 handles low light really, really, really well. And this was no exception. It's such a workhorse of a camera, absolutely brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to getting it back calibrated so that focus is a little bit more pin sharp and accurate as to where I'm actually focusing. Here we go, here's another situation where I was looking through, that feeling of looking through. So what is your favourite thing to photograph, and what would you like to photograph more of? Would you like more variety in your photography? Would you like to get out to different places and experience different subject matters that, sort of move your inspiration, that spark inside you? I think it needs to be moved sometimes, and I think to come away from a subject that you're used to photographing and perhaps go and try something different and then come back to it, I think then it keeps that freshness there, and it kind of allows it some space, and you always come back with perhaps new inspiration or even just new energy for it. And that can be as simple as just changing venues, or perhaps changing lenses, using some equipment you've never used before. How do you keep your inspiration for photography fresh? How do you keep things interesting? How do you challenge yourself? I would love to hear from you. This mirror was a lot of fun to play with at the end there. I think knowing when to stop as well, so you don't shoot longer than you should have, and you've got all the shots, but you're just repeating yourself, that's something I definitely do. And this is just a shot I took as I was walking home. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you again soon. Bye.